Fitness Pro Mentor community, welcome to another episode of the Minds on Muscle show. It is Glenn and I. We are your hosts. And today we're going to be talking about a very important topic because the wonderful, full FPM mentor Glenn had too much time on his hands, and we got to talk about what the heck that even means and what to do.
Oh, that's my segue. I'm sorry about that, Brendan. Yes, time on your hands, empty schedules. This time of year, people are starting to go away on vacation, whether they've got families and they're spending some time or they're spending some time abroad. Either way, a lot of people are going to start seeing that their schedule is a little bit lighter. Don't panic. It doesn't necessarily mean you've lost clients or anything like that. However, you may have some extra time on your hands. And so today we're going to be talking about what do you do when your schedule is a little bit emptier, whether that's because you don't have enough clients right now and you want to be making more bank, helping more people, or whether it's some people are just away on vacation and you've got a couple extra hours to fill over the summertime. Let's get after it, Brandon.
I did a thing for CPTN actually that's not true, for Mohawk College last week in Hamilton. And they were asking about how you spend your time, especially for new personal trainers. Like, how the heck do you get started with marketing, advertising, and growing your business? And I think there's a really kind of simple thing. If you think about your ideal personal training schedule before we even start, and this is what's going to fit in with Glenn's segue in a big way. If you want to work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, that's great. You don't have any clients 8 to 5 right now. No problem. A lot of people will tend to not do anything between 8 to 5, and they'll go, when I got a client inquiry or I have some business meeting, I'll put some time to work, but you know what, I'm going to sleep until 11, and I'll start my day at 12 because I don't have any clients right now. I think this is the wrong way to go. I think what we have to do is we have to put strong borders around when we want to work, and the great news is you actually have 40 hours of marketing time available to you between 8 and 5. You have a lot of incredible things that you can do. And so what we're going to do is Glenn is going to talk about some of the things that he's been doing in the last couple of weeks, last week and a half, because he had summertime, schedule lighten up. And I think this is a really important thing, a lot of very important things, because Glenn is, he's good at what he does. But his schedule was lighter because he had a bunch of people traveling. So what the heck did you do to fill your schedule and your time?
Lovely. So I think there's so many different ways we could look at this. Now, I could answer from my personal perspective, or I could share what it's going to work for everyone, I think. So we'll do a combination of both because it starts kind of in one specific place for me. Especially when it comes to the summer hours. One of the things I like to do is sit down and really take a look at my KPI, my key performance indicators. And this is something that we have our students do here. What are KPIs? Very short in a nutshell. They're the metrics, how many hours you work, how many people you're getting in front of, how many consultations do you have, all the different numbers that give you an idea of the health of your business. And you really got to figure out by looking at these numbers, one of two things. Are you not busy because you don't have enough clients and people have gone, or is it because people have gone away and just have a lighter week? Because if you don't have enough clients, there's probably some different things that you're going to do versus if you're really busy and just having a lighter week and people just aren't in your schedule right now. So for me, I really like reviewing the KPIs, your key performance indicators, so that I can get an idea of where the health of my business is. Now, for me, because my clients have gone away more on vacation or taking time off with their families, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to be here. So I've got to fill that time with productive things to help me build my business, but not necessarily trying to smash it full of new people. Because what happens when everyone comes back in a week or two, all of a sudden I've got an unmanageable schedule, which would maybe be a happy problem for some people, but would not be a happy problem for me. So when I say, hey, we can approach this in one of two ways. One, let's get really, really clear. Why are we not as busy right now? And that's by looking at the key performance indicators. 0 clients lost, great, people on vacation. Let's identify that. So for someone like me, or for you, if you've got some more time because people are away, there's a couple different things that you could do. Now, for me, one of the first things that I do when I look at my KPIs, I say, like, what's the health of my business right now? Where am I feeling like I've got some gaps and holes in my system, in my funnel for clients? For me, not to brag, it's looking pretty tight right now. So for me, one of the biggest things that I thought I could do to help me grow my business was to start taking a look at what are some of the soft skills that I need to work on right now to bolster my business for the future. And so one of the things that I'm working on personally, and Brandon knows, is I'm looking a little bit more at presentation and public speaking skills. I want to make sure that my presentations are top notch because we do get to run presentations at allied practitioners' offices. In the very least, usually every other month, in the very least, if not a little bit more frequently than that. And so if I know that I get in front of 10 people and at least 2 or 3 of those people are going to come in for consultations, well, could I be better at presenting material and be a better communicator such that we move that 2 to 3 to 3 or 4 or 4 to 5? Can I be such a charismatic speaker, deliver such positive, helpful information that to these people it would seem almost insane not to come at least have a conversation with me afterwards to learn a little bit more? That's kind of how I'm thinking about future-proofing my business. Now, for you, it might be a little bit different. When you look at your key performance indicators, you might see, well, I haven't lost any clients. My schedule's a little bit lighter this week, but it looks like I really don't have a lot of new leads coming in, or I don't have a lot of new people knocking at my door to want to work with me. In this case, we're looking at a bit of a marketing deficit. If you've got enough leads coming in, but no one's really sitting down with you, then maybe that initial contact is what needs to be worked on. If people are coming in and they're sitting down with you, but they're not converting into paid assessment or a new client, maybe you need to work on that initial meeting consultation skill set. You can see where this is going. The key performance indicator is so important because it really gives you an idea of the snapshot and the health of your business. Once you know the health of your business and where you're at and where you're falling short, all you need to do is reverse engineer back over the next couple months what you need to do to improve your business. And then, as Brandon said, go take some actions. If you've been working really, really hard, sure, maybe sleep in 1, maybe 2 days, maybe. But don't do mental gymnastics and give yourself so much time off. The reality is that Brandon and I got as busy as we are, not from marketing 8 to 5, but more 7 to 7, sometimes on weekends and evenings as well. There are times where I can remember working extra hard overtime to make that bank. You know, we have a kind of a Google Sheet Excel template that we've shared with some of our students here at FPM, and things that we use to do some of our programming for our clients in-house here at Strata. And I remember spending a Friday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday putting it together, probably a culmination of 25 hours on a weekend to do that. If I just did that in my regular 9 to 5, it would never get done. So the things you really got to ask yourself is, if you're not as busy as you want to be, how hard are you really working? And then from there, just figuring out what you need to do to grow your business. And for a lot of people, let's be honest, it's marketing.
Yeah, I think that there's a pretty simple equation here, and that's really great information, Glenn. Thank you. But I mean, if you guys think about it, if you're looking at your schedule, and you're like, okay, my schedule's empty. I need more. What do you need more of? Well, I need more clients. Well, what are you really trying to say? I need more money. Okay, great. So when we're looking at this, I mean, the number of trainers I've talked to, and they're like, well, I studied anatomy for 4 hours. I did a little bit of marketing and social media stuff, but I'm reluctant to do social media. I checked some locations I could potentially work at, and their time is so divided among so many different things. And truthfully, if we look at that little example there, 4 hours of studying anatomy, a little bit of business, and then location prospecting, really only 1 hour or 2 hours was focused on marketing at all. And when they're reluctant to post on social media, that's just another business behavior that potentially could bring some leads in. So if we know that you need to make more money, the behaviors have to be, what are the behaviors that you're going to execute each day that's going to help bring more people in, or more higher ticket prospects and leads and clients potentially, they're going to make you more money. What I would encourage you to do is, I got 2 quick exercises I'll throw out there. One is actually an exercise that an old mentor of mine, Chris Graney, one of the founders of BDX Fitness, recommended to me. And he said, if you're without clients and you want to be busier, take a moment, look at a whiteboard or a piece of paper, and literally, without hesitation, verbal vomit or verbal write down every possible idea you could think of to help generate business. Anything, just blah, let it all jump on the paper, even if it seems absolutely ridiculous. Like, take circus animals to senior center. Whatever you think of, it doesn't matter. Write it all down. And you're going to find that if you verbal vomit all of these different ideas down, that you're really only going to have between 12 and 20 ideas. And if you look at those 12 to 20 ideas, of those ideas, you'll be able to meta-analyze what of these ideas are actually good and reasonable, and which ones are just completely out there and grotesque. Not grotesque, but just gratuitous and outside of my wheelhouse. What's great is that you can actually focus on the lowest hanging fruit and actually go for the ones that you can actually implement right away. In most cases, you already have a ton of answers available to you. You already know what you need to do. You need to just look at that list and start taking some steps forward. When I first started personal training, I used to ask all my clients, I've said this before, nutritional, they go, I want to lose weight. I say, great. I'm not a nutritionist, but quickly, if you were going to eat healthier so you could lose some weight, what are some things that you would like to do or you would do? And they go, I would do this. I said, great. That's a great start. Are you doing that now? No. Why not? I don't know. all of a sudden they have these actionable steps that they already had thought of, and they just took the second to actually think about them and channeled them and focus on making some steps forward. Pretty straightforward. Second idea?
Can I jump in real quick?
Of course.
So the whiteboard idea that you say, it's so funny you say that because on our last monthly marketing call that I run on the Wednesdays, we actually created a monthly marketing plan for like if you're not busy during slower summer months. And one of the first things I said to everyone was, I want you to make a list of 50 things you can do to grow your business. And the whole idea is that numbers 1 to 5 come almost immediately. 5 to 15 are easy, and then 15 to 20 is like a little bit more grindy, but then 20 plus is a lot of times where the gold is. Because then you start actually thinking about the things that maybe you haven't thought of before or that aren't readily available in your mind because you're pushing yourself mentally and cognitively to do that. And oftentimes that's where a lot of the gold comes. Now, I will just say this one last thing, and then I want to get to that second point of yours, unless you have something else you want to comment on, which is I think for people who are relatively new to the marketing game, I think that those first 1 to 12 things that are actionable are going to be the low-hanging fruit, and they ought to be focusing on that. I think if you've been in the marketing game for a while, maybe you're a gym owner and you've spent a lot of time marketing and you've already got a bit of a foundation, like a lot of the students on the call did, this is where going through that list and trying to really see what other brilliant ideas come up are absolutely fantastic. Just a quick story about one of our students. We'll call him, he's fine with you saying, so Dan, right? He had done all of the marketing stuff that we had suggested to him. And I forget where the exact idea came from, but we were all kind of brainstorming together. What's the next big thing? And I think it might have been you or it might have been me. I'm not sure. One of us had suggested, why don't you put on like a big fitness summit? Like, why don't you put something together? Like something you haven't thought of before. Like we had to actually try to brainstorm this out. So Dan put together this big fitness summit. First one they've ever done. They had 3 different speakers come in. They did a big group class. They had a couple big companies come in like Viore, some other smaller local ones to bring food, water, all this different stuff. And ended up getting 4 personal training clients out of it and then 11 new members from doing this one big event. And if you take a look at like their lifetime value of how much money they get out of having a new personal training client and a new membership, like a new membership, when they look at like everyone stays for at least a year and 5 months, at what they were making, that's like $900. So you times that by 11, you times the PT clients by whatever that value is, all of a sudden for the time and effort they put in, exponential more return on investment for the time and energy put in, but also now their local reputation's grown exponentially because they did this big summit. And so this is one of those things where unless you sit down and actually put pen to paper and do some brainstorming, you're not going to necessarily come up with these ideas. So I'm sorry I didn't mean to hijack there, but like this is so important, like actually spending time to work on your business and think about it cognitively, not just doing the next thing, doing the next thing, doing the next thing.
100%. 100%. Love that. Yeah, Dan Grainbob's absolutely crushing it.
Smashing it.
There's something I've talked about a while ago, but I want to talk about like more practical application. 5 pillars of personal training that I used to talk quite a bit about at the beginning of the podcast: technical, communication, business, creativity, and then what I call mastery. And the reason why I bring that up is I come back to this idea that if you have a very light schedule, you really have one mission when you're providing your product. You want to be the absolute best product you possibly can be for your clients. So with your clients, if you are someone that helps manage pain with exercise, you need to be the absolute best at that you can be. You want to be a hypertrophy master? That's great. Be the best you can be. Now, the best you can be a combination of how you execute on the floor, the knowledge you have, all of those things. But if we take those 5 things, there's a learning style called the Pomodoro method, which I am a big fan of as well. And I use it with my drumming a lot because if you take this idea of I'm going to study for 1 hour, right? I think it's called ultradian cycles that we have. We cannot absorb an hour's worth of information in most settings, at least of one topic in one specific mode with one specific stimulus. Pomodoro method or versions of it kind of describes how you take a 20-minute chunk and focus your attention towards one thing, and then shift gears completely towards another different academic topic perhaps, or another learning style, and shifting back and forth. So that way you have maybe 2 or 3 things on the go at one time, but you do 20 minutes of this, 20 minutes of this, 20 minutes of this, and then you shift back for the next hour. The reason why they say that is if you have a full schedule, and I used to have this because when I first started, when I was 23, I had a very loose, very open schedule, is I would kind of focus between marketing and focus on communication practices, creativity exercises, and then technical training for my specific niche, which is helping people with pains. I broke it up into chunks so that throughout the day I could study almost all day, but I could put 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here. If we take that idea of the technical communication, creativity, mastery, and business, if you find focusing on one of those topics extremely tedious, that's okay. We still need it in there, but just make it a shorter duration. So perhaps we spend 20 minutes of focused marketing time that's in your schedule. And then right after that, you've got 20 minutes of communication practice where you're actually working on stroke reverse nurture, or you're looking at NLP communication practices. And then maybe you find the technical stuff absolutely exhausting, maybe, but we're doing a study group this Friday where I'm going to be breaking down spondylolisthesis and retrolisthesis. Look at the things that your potential clients might actually have from an anatomical perspective and figure out, what do you know about these diseases? Can you talk about them comfortably? Do you understand the mechanics of these potential conditions that someone may have? Could you exercise someone with these conditions? And if not, how could you? It might even be as simple for 20 minutes if you have a family member that has a back problem, say, hey, Uncle Paul, you're welcome to come into the gym. Listen, come to my gym, no cost on you. Just come on in and let me see if I can train you. And start trying to work with some of these people for free so you can build up the expertise. But all of a sudden, if you have this season of you're not busy enough, we can put the efforts into making sure that you're harnessing the practices and the behaviors that you need to actually get the money that you want, but also be a technical sword for each individual with those specific problems. So when someone comes in, the product that you have is not the problem whatsoever. You are not the issue whatsoever. It really is just making sure you're getting enough of those high quality lids. 5 pillars of personal training. Absolutely love it.
So when I look at the time and having excess of it for a week, 2 weeks, whatever that looks like for you, there are things I look at from a money now perspective, which is like, I need clients ASAP. And there's things that I look at from a money later perspective, meaning I got to keep this machine going. I got to generate more leads, even though I might not need these new people in my system now. Your business is going to be like a tub full of water, where in the tab's on and it's flowing, you've got water coming down. And if you take that plug out, you got water going out. And all that water in the middle is what you're going to be sitting in that bathtub. Your business is very much like this in the sense that if you've got that marketing funnel turned on full blast and that tap is pouring out water, that's a lot of new leads coming in. And if you've got that plug in the bottom and it's open and you got a lot of water coming out, that's a lot of people leaving you. In an ideal world, we're always going to have new leads coming in here, and that plug's going to be rock solid and the bathtub's going to overflow. Not really the reality. The point I'm trying to make is that your business is always going to atrophy people out. No one works with you forever. We just try to make sure that we have as much of as long of a client lifetime value as possible. So having said that, if that plug we know is always going to be just a little bit out and that water's going to be filtering out just a little bit, you always want to make sure there's new water coming in. And that's where that kind of money later stuff starts to become really important. So when I look at top threes for each of these things, I had a couple things that come to my mind. I made some notes. So one of the top 3 things that you can do for money now, in my opinion, is go out and meet people. And it seems really, really broad, and we have a whole bunch of different strategies to do this. But just to give you an example, I was at Starbucks last week. Some guy saw me wearing my Strata shirts and moving exercise pain-free. He literally stopped me as I was walking in my car and started having a conversation with me. 10 minutes later, we booked a consultation. I'm seeing him today at 3 p.m. I just talked to a guy that was interested in what I did because I was promoting myself outside of my business. You can go start conversations with people in public if you want to, or talk to moms and dads at your kids' XYZ event, whatever that might be. Those opportunities are everywhere, but go talk to strangers. Outside of that, this probably is pretty crystal clear, but I got to put it anyways because sometimes people forget, ask for referrals. Ask for referrals. If you haven't asked in a few months, ask again. And we've got some great strategies to do that in our program, but it's something you should be doing as well. In line with the referrals, soft pain funneling your clients. Now, when we talk about pain funneling, I won't go over it in lots of detail, but it's asking those questions that figure out if there's some kind of emotional pain tied to a physical problem that your clients have. Well, guess what? If you've got clients and they're seeing you, they see value in what it is that you do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming. They wouldn't be in your schedule. There's ways to ask questions, to have conversations with them about how their friends and family members are functioning and see what they articulate to you and say at the very end, well, you know what, I don't know if it would be helpful at all, but I'm always willing to talk to friends and family of my clients, see if I can help them. No strings attached. If you think XYZ person might be interested in chatting with me, please feel free to connect us. What do you think? And taking it from there. The last thing, and I get this takes some gusto sometimes, make some resurrection calls. Call some of those old clients up, see how they're doing. And if there's a connection, ask them to come on in just to spend some time with you. No strings attached. They know that if they are going to come in, that there's likely going to be some kind of offer at the end, and that's okay. Those are kind of my top 3 things I'd put in there in terms of things you can do right now if you need clients. Do you have anything you want to add in there, Brandon? No?
I think that's absolutely perfect. Pardon me, I lost my voice for a split second. Honestly, follow those rules. Like, stick with what Glenn's recommending right now. And if you're someone that's new to the channel, if you try those things and you're like, well, how do I execute these things? Please reach out to me, Glenn, or Taylor and ask questions, because we'd love to try and assist. Honestly, the mentorship program has been helping so many trainers like you who are just getting started, but also people like the Dans and the Sams that are really scaling their gyms. And ultimately, we're trying to make sure you have the behaviors to make sure that you're consistently getting wins and growing your business. Because you got to look in the mirror and you got to say, oh my gosh, my business is crushing it. And it's because you know that you're taking all the steps necessary to make that happen. And that's absolutely perfect. Hey, Glenn, what's your pick of the week?
Oh, okay. My pick of the week. I think this is the name of the app. I have to double check real quick. What's it called? Time Shifter. Beautiful. So I've got my honeymoon. We're leaving tomorrow evening, and I don't like jet lag. And we're going for about 10 days. And so I really want to make sure I get the most out of my time there. And Brandon, I know you and I are very similar in that we covet our sleep. Feeling energized is really important to both of us here. So I thought to myself, well, how can I get ahead of this jet lag thing? And so I got this app called Time Shifter, and it's really, really cool. You actually put your flights in and your flight numbers, and it's got access to the World Wide Web. So it takes that, and it actually will program in for you based on your preferences what you ought to do leading up to your trip to minimize jet lag. So to give you an example, because we're 6 hours time zone difference from Italy, my app has got me telling me exactly when I need to have sun, when to stop looking at light, when to put my blue blocker glasses on, when to have my melatonin, when to wake up, when to go to bed for the next 2 or 3 days, how long to sleep on the plane, when to wake up, when to have coffee, all these kind of things, so that by the time I get to Italy, my time adjustment is way down. Because I remember when I went to London, England for the 2012 Olympics, so nearly a decade ago, 11 years, I wasted my first 3 or 4 days just trying to get over jet lag. And so am I a little bit more fatigued the past couple of days? Yeah, because I've been getting up not at 6 a.m., but 5 a.m., and then not at 5 a.m., but 4 a.m., and then tomorrow morning getting up at 3 a.m. But I know that when I go to Italy, that first day will be a little bit rough, but I know that, well, at least I think that with the help of this app, I'd be able to adapt really, really well. So my pick of the week for guys and gals and people that travel, check out the Time Shifter app. It's really easy to use, really easy to understand. I'm looking forward to seeing the results, and I will report back during our next episode of the podcast. Brandon, do I throw it back to you? Do you want to have a comment on that one there?
I can't believe how much you're putting into getting the sleep organized, but I think it's incredible.
I think so too. I want to enjoy my time there, right? Meeting the wife's grandmother for the first time, and like 50 aunts and uncles. Her mother's like one of 9 kids, so there's gonna be a lot of people, a lot of food.
Gosh, yeah.
I just want to be present. That's what it comes down to.
So my pick of the week for everybody here is, honestly, it may be a simple one if you've heard of it, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to. But the scientific podcasts right now, like Andrew Huberman and Peter Attia's podcast, they're just absolutely incredible. Every morning I have a couple of nerdy things that I do, but listening to one of those podcasts, something I throw on every morning, and there's always, even if it's a topic that's outside of my wheelhouse professionally, you pick up gems of information, like just learning a little bit about, in a cognitive mind frame thing, like the default mode network and how our body organizes, learning cycles. And right now I'm personally spending some time learning about more energy system stuff as it relates to the potentiation topics I talk about and how that all connects to mindset and cognitive function and neuroplasticity. It's just incredible. So what I'd encourage you, if you're a nerd and you're someone who is always on the go like I am, and you want to try and learn as much as you can, Andrew Huberman's podcast, Peter Attia's podcast, would encourage you to just listen to them, even if you're just driving, because there's always a little bit of gems. And you go, wait a second, what did he just say about that? And you can go back and listen to it. It's been an incredible experience to consistently learn easily without putting a ton of effort in. And if I want to put some effort in, I can actually study the podcast and make a ton of notes. Definitely recommend it.
I got a couple hot picks. There's a Peter Attia episode where he interviews a hand, elbow, and shoulder surgeon. It's like 4.5 hours long, but the gentleman does an excellent job describing certain issues, what's caused them, and it really helped me reverse engineer a lot of the shoulder pain, elbow, and hand stuff that my clients go through. And then the Huberman podcast, highly recommend for anyone that works with people. Listen to all the ones with Andy Galpin. He's got a really cool, and I won't ruin it, but he actually explains why people get muscle soreness, and it has nothing to do with micro damage and micro tears like we've been telling people for years and years and years. Highly recommend it. It's very, very fascinating. It has everything to do with intrafusal fibers, stretch receptors, and then different little hormones like interleukin-6 and all that just floating around. It's very fascinating. Highly recommend it.
Beautiful, everybody. Hey, listen, thanks so much for checking out today's episode. And you'll be here in 2 weeks, won't you?
Yeah, yes, I should be.
Glenn
yes.
will probably be here in 2
will
weeks, and
likely
if
be
not,
here.
you'll get me for sure, but you'll probably get both of us. But listen, if you're a personal trainer and you want some help with your business, we have some really affordable ways to get mentorship, less expensive than all the others, and all of our students say it's better than everybody else, so can't compete with that. Everyone, have a wonderful Tuesday. We'll talk to you real soon.
Take care, everyone.